video, I'll be speaking with Shane Murphy about anxiety and cancer, a topic that can be both sensitive and challenging for many. If you watch this interview and find yourself feeling unsettled or in need of support, please don't hesitate to reach out. I have included helplines as well as contact details for Youghal Cancer Support in the description below. If opening up to friends or family feels difficult, please reach out to one of the organizations listed. You're not alone and help is available. There were some minor sound issues during the interview, but I decided not to pause or restart the conversation as I felt the information Shane shared was highly valuable and important to many people. I appreciate your understanding. Anxiety and cancer are two words that for so many people are deeply connected. If you or someone you love has faced cancer, you know how overwhelming the emotions can be. Today, we are diving into that connection with Shane Murphy, an accredited psychotherapist and anxiety expert. We explore how anxiety impacts the body, how to manage it, and why addressing it is so important for overall health. Let's get into it. Welcome, Shane. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Sonia. Good to see you all.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure to be back on again.
Yeah, it's great to have you again. So, Shane, you are the director of Youghal Cancer Support Centre. When talking about a cancer diagnosis, it comes with a lot of different experiences. And I know we talked about it in our first interview a couple of weeks ago, but I'd like to do a little recap and begin by exploring what anxiety is when it comes to cancer and how we can distinguish it from other experiences such as stress, depression, fears, and other emotions.
Well, I suppose I've had the privilege of running the Cancer Support Centre in Youghal for over 5 years, near on 5 years now at this stage. And I've seen hundreds of people come through the centre with cancer and stuff like that. And I suppose the automatic response is going to be anxiety. Because I suppose in life, we all carry out a good life. We, like yourself, we eat well, we do things in life. And then suddenly we get a cancer diagnosis, and it's it's life changing for everybody that gets this, because suddenly you have to start thinking about when or might I die, and regardless of, even if you get a cancer diagnosis that is quite curable and can actually be sorted fairly quickly, at the end of the day, you have this thought in your mind: I have cancer. And it is quite profound for people when they have a diagnosis of cancer, because even when they get cured, they've had cancer and they have the fear and the anxiety of having cancer again. And also, it brings in the mortality question about how long do I have? For me personally, I never think about when am I going to die or how am I going to die or anything like that. It doesn't come into my mindset at all. I plan on living for another 50 or 60 years, so it doesn't come in my mind. But I've seen firsthand with people coming into the centre whose lives are completely changed and shaken in the moment that the doctor tells them you've got cancer. So anxiety comes hand in hand with it, because anxiety, as I mentioned in the last video, is about worrying about the future. It's about catastrophizing, making a mountain out of a molehill. It's just causing a huge amount of fear for the future into the present tense. And with cancer, it's life changing.
Yeah. So cancer and cancer treatment can be very disruptive, right? Because we have family, we have kids, we have our life, we work, and life is challenging already by itself, and then this diagnosis can just hit you. So how can we help individuals feel less isolated and less overwhelmed during their cancer journey?
Well, I suppose in the Youghal Cancer Support Centre where I run, we've created, a homely type of a feeling. When you come into the centre, it doesn't feel like you're walking into a medical institute. We've lots of different services. So it's about creating that community. It's about being held. It's about actually just knowing that you're safe and that this is a place that you can actually feel safe and you can step away from the world. Because as you said, I always feel that the people who actually struggle the most with the cancer diagnosis are the loved ones, the husband, the wives, the children, whoever's there supporting that person, because they now suddenly have had to. I've had people who've had to give up their jobs to support the other person. They've had to put their family, their lives on hold to support the other person. And of course, they struggle with actually sharing that they're struggling with the other person because they don't want to burden the other person. They don't want to put more stress on the other person. So they're just constantly internalizing, constantly juggling, racing, trying to get actually things organized to make the world look normal for the person who has the cancer diagnosis. So the trick is to actually look. There's lots of supports out there. You know, this YouTube isn't just going to be in Youghal; it's going to be all over Ireland. So we're blessed in Ireland to have so many different support networks, all voluntary. You know, I mean, everybody in the centre, bar myself, is a voluntary person within the centre. And, you know, it's about reaching out, you know, because I understand with anxiety and stress with this, again, you struggle to reach out. You struggle to ask for help. You think you can do it for your all on your own. You can't do it on your own. You need support. You need to talk to people. You need to tell people what's going on. So many people just keep it within themselves, within the family. They don't talk to anybody. I'm not saying you talk to everybody, but you know your inner circle. You know the people you can talk to. You know the people that can actually help and support you. You're not alone on this journey. So it's about finding the place that actually works for you, reaching out to them and getting that support that's there in abundance in Ireland and around the world to help people and support them with cancer.
You say that most cancer patients keep it for themselves because they don't want to put this burden on on their family members and friends. But wouldn't it take pressure off them and help them deal with the whole situation better and also the treatment would be way easier for them if they talked about it?
Well, I understand that makes logical sense, but logic goes out the door from a diagnosis. It's a traumatic event happening all around you. It's the event that in a couple of years' time, if you went to counselling, we'd be dealing with that trauma. So you're living in an actual trauma, and you will protect you and you'll protect your family member, whoever has the cancer diagnosis, as much as you can. And, you know, I see a large proportion of people who come through the centre who don't tell anybody what's going on and don't want to tell anybody what's going on because I suppose there's the other aspect of it. You know, when you've got a cancer diagnosis or any kind of an illness, when you meet people, they want to help you, but they also want to know how are you and how are you getting on. And maybe just talking about it sometimes can re-traumatize people as well. Sometimes they just don't want to talk about it. They're going through the treatment, they're going through chemo, they're going through radio, they're going through whatever the treatment is out there. And they just want to focus in on that and only do that. So they don't want to talk to other people about it and stuff like that. So that's probably another big reason why people just keep it so tight. But as you said there, it does help with the treatment. I've had many clients come through the centre who would have thought that they would have kept it so private. And then when they shared it with people, you know, I remember a man years ago who never told anybody about his cancer. Nobody at all about his cancer. Nobody knew. His children, nobody knew in his life. And then when he started sharing with other people about what was going on with him, they were saying, "Oh, well, I went through that as well." And he was talking about how much he felt supported when he suddenly actually expressed. But he went 2 years with telling nobody whatsoever. Was able to drive up and drive down, do his treatments without telling absolutely anybody. But it just ate him up inside, not being able to tell people, because people then were like thinking that he was weird because he disconnected and he wasn't going out for a drink anymore with his friends. And, you know, but when he opened up and he told people how much it actually changes. So going back to your answer to your question, yeah, we should open up. We should tell people what we're going through. We should take that support when it's offered without saying, no, 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 I'm fine, I'm grand. You know, so many people struggle with accepting, actually receiving help when they need it.
Yeah. And I think one of the issues and one of the fears a lot of people have, and I would have myself as well, that people want to give unsolicited advice because it's human nature that we just want to help people. And then we say something like, just brush it off and toughen up or look at the bright side of life, but it's not of life, but it's not that easy when you have anxiety and that diagnosis, right?
Yeah, I mean, what people I'd love to start something in Ireland where we could educate people on how to talk to people who've got cancer, how to talk to people when they die, because we say such things that have such a massive impact. When somebody passes, oh, you'll be grand in a year's time or something like that, or, time heals everything. You know, Technically speaking, time does heal everything, but it's the one thing you don't want to hear when you have a diagnosis or if someone has died. So learning what the right etiquette of things that you can or cannot say, as you say, just brush it off or just get on with it, just get on with your life, and things like that. They're just such hurtful comments that people make to other people. And I understand it's coming for them from a place of you're trying to help them. But the best way to actually help someone who might say to you that they have a cancer diagnosis or they have a friend who has a cancer diagnosis, or if they've lost somebody, it's just to just be there and just say, if there's anything I can do for you, I'm here for you. And I'm sorry for what's going on for you in your life. And the simplest and most honest way is the easiest and best way to actually do anything.
Yes, but it feels awkward to do that.
Well, people find it awkward to do that, but the only way to get rid of your awkwardness is to do it.
Yeah.
And I was awkward before I started running the Cancer Support Centre. I was awkward around death. I was awkward around how would you talk to people inside. And I mean, what I found interesting with some of the funerals I might have went to over the last couple of years was I'd go to the funeral and nobody would know me because I might have dealt with that one family member and nobody else within the family. Only going to strangers, and then I'd have to introduce myself of who I am, and I'd be there to support. But the less the words and the more honesty that you can actually use, the better. I understand that it's awkward. I understand it's something that we don't want to deal with. But when it happens, just don't step into saying the cliche things in life and actually say to that, if it's a friend or a loved one, say it from the heart. Say it how you really feel and be honest. And if we were all more honest and if we all came from a place of feelings and emotions, it would be a different world we live in, rather than going to because you're awkward, you don't want to say what you know is going to help the person. So be awkward. That's all I'd say.
I totally understand that, and I'm with you here. But I also understand that a lot of people don't want to go that first step because they feel awkward, and that holds you back. It's the same that anxiety holds you back. If you said you want to educate, you'd love to educate Ireland and the whole world of how to do it, how to talk about dying and what comes afterwards and so on. What is the first step you would do here? What would you tell people?
Well, our first step would be to get people comfortable with talking about this, with to get comfortable to talk about somebody who's got cancer and stuff like that. Look inside, like, mine was around my anxiety. My anxiety would be in my mind, I'd be thinking, what if I say the wrong thing and what if this is not the right thing? Because, when somebody has lost somebody or somebody has died or somebody has a diagnosis or something, we don't know what to say. And even just saying, I don't know what to say in this situation is enough. That's what I mean about that honesty. I want to educate people to be honest with their feelings and emotions and tell people, geez, I'm sorry about your diagnosis of cancer. I'm sorry about someone that you've lost someone. I actually don't know what to say here. I don't know how to help you. I've never experienced this before, but just that alone is powerful. And I understand what you're saying, that a lot of people find this awkward. But, you know, as I say, you have a choice to either be awkward and not say anything and hurt the person, or step into your awkwardness, say it from the heart, and at least the other person will feel they're being heard. So Your choice is to protect yourself, you hurt the other person, or don't protect yourself and actually express yourself and not hurt the other person. It's your choice. It's literally your choice. And it's not as simple, I know, as black and white with that, with people who struggle with mental health and struggle with how they speak to people and stuff like that. But it can be as simple as understanding. You know, if you, so many people worry so much about how they, what they say to the other person, that they hurt the other person with what they say. But what they don't say actually hurts the other person as well. So would you not be better off just to be honest about how you're feeling with the other person and take a chance that actually maybe what you say and what you need to say is enough?
Yes.
You know, and that's, education is on honesty of your feelings and emotions.
Yeah. As I said, I'm with you here. It's just that avoidance is so much easier than facing things. It is just like that.
But if you realize that your avoidance is hurting the other person, you would change very quickly. Because the one thing you don't want to do is hurt the other person.
Yes. Yeah,
Now,
that's true.
I am aware that people listening to this are going, it's not as simple as that, Shane. What I'm saying is, it can be as simple as that. If you can just get out of your own mind and into your heart and into your feelings, it can be as simple as that.
Yes.
You know? And even going back to how would I educate people in Ireland and the world about how to talk to people about this, I would teach them the things that we shouldn't say. You know, saying that, as you said, you know, you can brush it off or you get on with it or it'll be easier in time and all that sort of stuff. Just getting them to understand that, be in the other person's shoe and say it. You know, I've had so many people who've said to me, geez, Shane, if another person says to me, I get over this in time, I kill him, you know? And because it's not what you want to hear now. And if you've been through it, you'll never say that to somebody again, like, you know? You've experienced it like I've experienced it. It's really helped me to educate me on what to say and what not to say. So spending time and trying to figure out what you should say and what you shouldn't say, why not? Because death is inevitable. We do live in a society where we don't have longevity. We have X amount of time on this planet to live. There are going to be people, there are going to be parents, there are going to be brothers, sisters, friends, family who are going to die. And that is the one inevitability within life, that death will happen, that you will have, you can't live on a desert island like Tom Hanks did and, you know, nobody dying, like, you know, you live in a society where people die. So you should take time to educate yourself on what you should say, what you shouldn't say, and get me comfortable with death.
Absolutely, yeah. If someone comes to the center, has a cancer diagnosis, starts opening up, and want to bring in relative and friends, is that possible?
Of course, it's open to family, friends, anybody, absolutely anybody. And there's no time frame on it as well, like, because when you're going through your cancer treatment and you're going through all the stuff that you're going through, you know, you're busy getting all the different treatments, you're up and down to the hospital, you're watching your diet, you're doing so many things. And then you come out the other side and you get be told that you're cancer free, but they all say but you're cancer free, but we'll have to keep an eye on it. And then I've had people who've come in 3, 4 years later after they've had the cancer and gone through it and all, and they've said, you know, actually, I think I need support now. And there's no time limit on when you need support for it. It's not just because it's what's happening now. It's whatever you feel you need for yourself. And sometimes just getting back into life and living life, but you can't go back to living the life that you lived before because it's changed because you had cancer. And you're
Okay.
going to be, it comes into that consciousness level where, you know, you're aware of the fact that you had cancer. So you're, you know, people get caught up, I suppose, anxiety, you know, in the obsessive compulsive thoughts. They can get caught up with, you know, the circumstances happen again, that when I got cancer, how did I get it? All these questions are going on in your head. You know, was it something I ate? Was it so? It's so many different environmental factors. Is it in the family? There's so many questions that you ask yourself after you go through the procedure of actually getting rid of the cancer, you know? So, you know, it's just about educating yourself again. So friends, family coming in, what I normally would say is if the person who's actually dealing with cancer, I say, you have enough things going on in your life between going for chemo, radio, all your doctor's appointments and everything. You know, we look after you when you come to the other side. But I'd always say to the wife or the husband or the children or whoever their family, now we're going to support you as you support your spouse or whoever that's actually going through the cancer support.
All right. And what do you offer in the center? What are the different pillars you have?
Well, obviously we have counselling to start off with. Then we have yoga, meditation. We have we're very privileged at the moment. We have a death doula. Maybe you might interview her at some stage. You know, and she kind of helps people with accepting that they're going to die, and actually making peace with actually dying. So that's quite important. As I say, have to be honest, have to be transparent. We have massage, reflexology, sound therapy, um, uh, energy healing, Reiki, cranial sacral, nutrition, physiotherapy, yeah, lots more that I can't even think of at the top of my head at the moment. So there's so many things going on in there. You know, there's between 60 to 70 people coming through the centre every week. And, you know, there's just lots of things when you come in and you want support and you want to know what we're doing. We talk about this sort of things. We have some treatments that we kind of ease people in gently into it because a lot of people would not know a lot of these alternative treatments and how these treatments actually benefit as you're actually going through, how they are also working to actually heal you from what you actually need to go through, you know?
Mhm.
And obviously, the first thing is therapy and nutrition, like, you know, because, you know, understand that they have a dietitian, but as you know, nutrition is different to dietitian.
Yes. Yeah, it
You know?
is. Yeah.
So it's more encompassing. It's not just about the food you eat. It's about a lifestyle. It's about supplementing. It's about so much more, you know?
Yeah, that's very good. That's very good. So cancer is not something, well, the anxiety with cancer that comes with cancer is not something you deal just as long as you have cancer and then you are healed and it's gone. It's also kind of a lifelong diagnosis, or can you heal from that as well?
You can heal from the anxiety of it, of assuming everything, you know, as I've talked before, like, I mean, with how I help clients, it's about learning to stay in the present. It's about learning that these thoughts these assumptions that you make, that this is going to go wrong, or that's going to go wrong, or I'm going to get the cancer back. It's about learning to live and appreciate the life that you live in. I heard a very good, listened to a very good interview with Alan Watts at the weekend, and he was talking about things that we know, which we know there's no tomorrow, we know there's no yesterday, but there's only an infinite today. And I thought that was really, for me now, it really landed that I went, okay, but only live in this lane, this today. And when you live in this lane, this today, the anxiety and the stress, in theory, about getting cancer back and all that is gone because you're happy, you're healthy today. And it's about learning the different practices, the breathing exercises, the meditation, all the other ways to actually learn to stay present, to only stay now. It's like I'm talking to you on Zoom and I'm only thinking about now. I'm not thinking about where I'm going to be or what I'm going to do in an hour's time. It's only about now. And, you know, you don't live in the now as a therapist. You couldn't sit with a client when they're talking to you and explain to them what's going on for them in their lives. If you're thinking about the next client, you forget what they're actually saying. So it's about learning the different techniques to stay in the now, to stay present, to eat healthy. So you can change. You can stop worrying about the fact that I will or I won't get cancer. I'm not saying that it doesn't automatically pop up in your mind, organically pop up in your mind, but it's it's about learning to actually appreciate. And one thing that you do get a lot of when people have come through the cancer treatment and they've got the all clear is they have gratitude. They have a volume of gratitude in their life for living, the gratitude of the things that we take for granted, gratitude of being able to get up in the morning and not be caught in your breath, the gratitude of being able to get out of bed. So many things that we can actually step into, and gratitude is the most powerful thing. I think I mentioned in the last show that when you're in gratitude, you can't have anxiety.
Mhm.
So that does not the brain does not compute that when you're in gratitude that you can have anxiety. So one thing about getting a diagnosis of cancer and actually coming through that diagnosis of cancer and getting a cure at the end of it, every day you appreciate life. Every day you appreciate the small things in life. It can be quite transformative for some people when they come through the other way and they make lifestyle changes in their life and they don't live their lives the way they used to live their life. It can be very transformative sometimes for people when they come out the other side. Sometimes it's like the butterfly coming out of the caterpillar to see how much people change their lives when they come out the other side.
That's really wonderful to think about it, that you can change and you can change your whole mindset to be more positive and really appreciate life.
Yeah.
There is this expression that we all use, fighting cancer. And I personally don't like that because I think it has a negative touch to fight something. What do you think about that?
I don't agree with it. And the Marine Treating Foundation have a great program, which some people did last year, and it's called Surviving and Thriving. So maybe something like surviving and thriving cancer, that stepping from surviving cancer rather than fighting it, you know what I mean? Because going through the treatment, I'm blessed that I've never had to go through the treatment, or nobody in my family has ever had to go through cancer diagnosis or anything, but I've seen it firsthand and it's surviving. You go through the process, you go into the hospital, you get it, and you survive from day to day. So I would imagine that the word surviving cancer is a better word than fighting cancer. But I also understand where the word fighting comes from as well, because it is a fight. It's not just about you getting all the treatments you're getting from the hospital. It's a huge mindset shift. It's a huge neurology. I can see why they have to say the word fight, because some days you don't have the energy. The chemo and the radiotherapy has decimating effects on your body, and some people it's worse than other people. Some people some people just go through it and no major damage. They just literally carry on with their lives, and then some people they literally cannot get out of bed for a week after their treatment of chemo or radiotherapy. And you have to fight to get out of bed. You have to fight to go back in for another treatment in a week's time or 2 weeks' time or daily for some people. So I can understand where the terminology fight does come in first.
Mhm.
Because it's fighting for your life. But then the surviving is kind of a more gentler way. And then obviously the thriving at the end, what I talked about earlier on, that thriving, that you're going from surviving and then your trajectory slowly but surely going up, where you're thriving in life. So I don't know if I answered yet, because I do understand what you're saying about fighting, but I feel that if we were to have someone on here who has been through the cancer journey, they would say they would have to fight a lot of days to get out of bed and to actually see the world.
All right, then you can say it's interconnected. You fight and you survive, you empower yourself, but you
Yes.
kind of have to fight some days to really, especially if you get chemo or radiation and it has a strong impact on your body and mind, you have to fight to get out of bed, and you just can't be positive in a way you wish it to be, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, again, I've seen so many different types of people over the years go through this, and everyone handles it differently.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Chemo and radiation, you just mentioned, has a very strong impact, or can have a very strong impact on the body. So does anxiety. The anxiety can cause hair loss and other things. Do you know of any impacts anxiety can have on the body?
And anxiety, is it?
Anxiety, yes.
Yeah, well, anxiety causes huge amount of gut problems. I mean, you know more about this than I do, with the world you work in, but I see like a huge amount of gut. It causes the panic attacks cause a huge amount of stress in the chest, very, very, very slow breathing and stuff like that. Struggle with breath, catching a breath, uh, the stomach, the shoulders, because they're kind of carrying an awful lot of stress inside it. So the amount of body issues. You know, I mean, I hear of as well of people with anxiety ending up in the hospital because they think they're having a heart attack when they're only having a panic attack. That's why I'm saying own a panic attack, because I know for people who struggle with panic attacks are very severe and very strong for people. But they've ended up with constantly going. People have ended up with gallstone problems, have ended up with problems in their kidneys, and so much within that anxiety aspect of it. So anxiety is, of all the anxiety, depression, OCD, all the other conditions that are out there, I feel anxiety is probably the most body aspected of anything that people actually worry about. You really feel it all over your body.
Okay. So it's really about gaining a better understanding of what anxiety is and what to expect can help you, or what can help you in the end control your anxiety and then also influence the cancer treatment in a positive way. Is it like that? It's all about understanding it, educating yourself, and opening up and going through it in a smoother, easier, and more positive way, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I mean, definitely the key is the feelings and emotions aspect of it, like, because, even in my practice, like we start off with helping them ground them in the present, getting them stronger in the present. But eventually you have to go into the feelings, because the feelings are associated with all anxiety. Anxiety is all fear-based, hugely fear-based, like, the caught in the fear, caught in the loops of it. And I suppose one of the interesting trends I'm seeing these days is once you get an anxiety attack or a panic attack, you then are worried that you'll get a panic attack or anxiety attack in the future. So then you have an anxiety or panic attack because you're worrying about it. So you're caught in those loops. So it's about learning your feelings, learning your present tense feelings that are actually going on for you. What are you afraid of? What is the fear? Is this something that can be real? So it's really learning to actually tap in to that feeling aspect of yourself. It's interesting when just my reflection as I'm talking to you, when you and I start talking about anxiety, I notice that my speech gets faster, and I start, it's a response because I struggled with anxiety for 22 years of my life. It's a response that's in my body, and it's hard to break that pattern of, I even say to clients, I say, learn to slow down your speech when whatever is going on for you, that you just literally slow down your speech and be conscious of slowing down your speech. And that really helps to step out of it. Another way I suggest to people is that you take a pause, a breath, before you speak about anything. So even if you're walking down the street and someone says, "Hello, Sonia," you just go, "Hello," whatever way you say it, and learning that pause, because that pause is that moment to stop you from dropping into the anxiety aspect. So the pause doesn't just come in when you're talking to people, the pause comes in for yourself. When you feel yourself starting to get anxious, you just pause and look at the thoughts and make sure that the thoughts are serving you well. And again, that slowing down of the speech, because if you know anybody in your life that has anxiety, they're always, "Oh, yeah, look, I love you. How'd you go to the how you got your living? How do you have to go now?" They're talking like they're thinking. So you can imagine if you start talking slower, you're thinking slower.
Yes,
So
but I've been there and I've recognized that I was talking too quickly, but I couldn't control it. I wasn't that far. I mean, I think recognizing is the first step, and the second step then is slowing down and breathing in between. I just wasn't possible, but now I'm way better. I mean, you hear that I'm more controlled in how I'm talking and that I'm not rushing so much anymore, or not at all anymore. And it just takes time to learn that things and to get on top of your anxiety, to not talk like you're thinking, if you said, as you said, yeah.
exactly. And I mean, another great thing is it's a warning sign that you're about to get anxious. So if you start notice in yourself that you're suddenly starting to speak a little bit faster about something that's actually coming up, you can say, "Oh, I've got anxiety coming up, so I need to slow down how I'm actually speaking." And then 90% of the clients will actually won't step into that anxiety loop or that anxiety moment because they suddenly bring it back to the now. Because when you're speaking at a more normal pace, you're only in the present. It's only in you.
Yeah, that's true. You are here, you're in the right and now, yeah. What helps me a lot is breathing. I do breathing. I was breathing before this interview, and I breathe every day. If I go on a walk with Max, with my dog, I breathe. I'm practicing breathing every throughout the day. Just as I think about it, I start breathing in 4-7-8 or box breathing or whatever it is, whatever I want to do at that moment, and it helps me so much to slow down and to come back into the moment.
I believe in breathing so much. I use breathing with my clients all the time. I was only working with a client yesterday, and we literally were doing the box breathing because he was starting to hyperventilate. The panic was starting to come over. So, putting your hand on your diaphragm, noticing, your breath like that when you're breathing, just concentrating on your diaphragm and putting your hand on your stomach can be enough to literally calm you down, bringing you into the now. I always say the one consistent thing in your life, all your life, is your breath. And if you can learn to listen to your breath and learn to realize that your breath will calm you down, you're sorted. Do you know what I mean? You can anything you want to associate with your breath, you can do it. So yeah, you're right. Like the breath, any bit of breath work, I do it myself. I was doing it this morning before I came on to you. I had a Tai Chi session with my Tai Chi master. So, I'm doing Tai Chi now over 2 years. I find Tai Chi really quite profound for me. It really is into that breathing and that movement aspect of your body. So the breath is the most important thing as far as actually bringing you back into the present and anchoring you into the now and anchoring you into your feelings and emotions. But a lot of people struggle with the breath work aspect of it because it does bring them into their feelings and emotions. And unless you've done work on your feelings, most people assume that they know how to deal with their feelings and emotions. But their feelings, their emotions they're dealing with are if they came from a childhood of lots of anger and shouting and roaring, or if they came from parents who put them down. That's where they learned their feelings and emotions. So they have an association with things that happened then, and they bring it into now. So breath work brings you into now and it brings into your feelings and emotions. But if you haven't done any work on your feelings and emotions, you can't sit with the breath.
Okay, okay. I have just something that popped up in my mind because when I was 15, my mom got cancer, and 1996, I was a bit older. My granddad got cancer, and he was 91, so he died probably a bit of cancer, but also of old age. And it was never talked about in our family. We haven't talked about it until now, and we probably will never do that. And there was a lot of I as a child was dealing with it on my own, and then I had all those doctors telling me all the time I had to be careful with so many things. I have to check everything all the time and check my breast because of breast cancer risk and so on. And then I started empowering myself, and now I'm not that afraid. I'm not afraid of cancer anymore. I'm not afraid of dying anymore. I still have a negative kind of feeling sometimes. I can't really it's not completely gone, but it's way, 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 way better. And what I was thinking, if you have family, if you have children and you get a cancer diagnosis, especially if you're a mom, do you include them? Is it good to include them in the breathing techniques, in the meditation, mindfulness techniques? It doesn't matter the age. I think it can be already when they are toddlers, just to show them a different way of living. Would that make sense for families?
Yeah, 100%. Like you should include the family. I mean, I'm sorry that the way your family treated you when your grandfather, got sick. We do that a lot. We don't want to talk. We believe if we don't talk about it, it won't happen. But that actually makes it worse because you're better off to talk about it and talk about what happened. And as you said, talk about the fact that your grandfather, you know, one of the contributing factors was cancer, but the rest of the contributing factors were that he was getting old and old age and stuff like that. It's the old age question, the chicken or the egg, did the cancer kill him or did the old age kill him? But just to talk openly about that and include the family to talk about it. I see so much with, you're talking about the mindfulness and breathing, but, I'd like to say a little bit about when you have a parent or something and you have children in their teens or something like that age group, And so many people within families don't tell the children what's actually going on. Now, I'm not saying you get into the detail of what's going on, but you shouldn't be afraid to tell them that daddy or mommy has cancer. You shouldn't be afraid to tell them what's going on, because it's actually worse for the children to not know what's actually going on than it is to know. And again, I'm not saying you tell them all the details, because you don't, but you just at least include them in the conversations around it. And also you include them in what we talk about here, learning about mindfulness, learning about the breath work, learning about staying present as a family. It can be quite good for a family, because sometimes it can actually bring the family closer together, because there's that commonality of, dad or mum or whoever, or gran or granddad is sick and they have cancer, and they they're getting treatment, they're getting better, but just to be aware of it and just to have an open conversation where you sit down and kids can ask questions about what is it and what's going on, and or even sometimes they bring the children into the cancer support centre and ask somebody who knows what exactly is going on. So it's about, you know, I already said so far in this interview that you should tell people, but you should definitely not keep any secrets in the family, because it has a way of coming out. I've seen it so many times where they don't tell any of the children, oh, daddy's just going up for an appointment, he's meeting a friend in the city, and he's doing this, but you can see slowly but surely he's getting sick, and then you're asking questions. Why is daddy getting sick? Oh, he just has an upset stomach because he drank too much last night and things like that. But you know, it's the lies just get more and more caught up. So be honest to whatever you feel, depending on the age group of the child. You be honest with what's going on.
Okay, that was very good. Thank you very much. What is one advice you would like to give everyone when it comes to anxiety and cancer?
Stay in the present. Deal with whatever is actually going on for you now. Deal with, if you're going for a chemo, you're going for radio, even if you have, a diagnosis of cancer and the doctor says to you, you have cancer, but this is the treatment that's going to go on. You just stay with that. You ask the doctor as many questions as you possibly can. My advice is always to bring somebody with you, because when you're in shock, you're in shock. So learn to stay in the present. Don't assume the worst that's actually going to happen, but learn to actually stay with whatever is actually going on for you now, because you can't control the future. One thing about a cancer diagnosis is you're going through your treatment. It is what it is. We've some fantastic services available in Ireland these days, and just trust in the process and trust that you will actually get better, because there's nothing worse than stepping into the anxiety and the stress around the fact that you actually think that you're going to die, or you think that everything is going to, the worst thing, they hear the story of the 1 million chance that something goes wrong, and it goes wrong. So it's just learning to actually accept what is actually going on for you now, and stay as much in the present as you possibly can.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I will put the link of the Youghal Cancer Support Centre in the description of the video.
Yep.
There is almost in every town a cancer support center where people can go if they look for help. They can also reach out to you if they want to talk to you. And thank you so much for being with us today, and hopefully see you soon.
Okay, thanks very much, Sonia. Thanks.
Thank you.